All right, now let's add a button here. So right after H1, I'm going to add a button. We set the inner text to increment. Now you can immediately see a compilation error here. You have a red underline. JSX expressions must have one parent element. Why is that? Well, earlier I told you that these JSX expressions get compiled to a call to react.create element. Now, the first argument to this method is the type of the element that we want to create, in this case, H1. But when we have two elements side by side, Babel doesn't know how to compile this long expression into a call to react.create element. What is the type of the react element that should be returned from the render method? We can't tell. So one solution is to wrap this with a div. So let's add a div here and close it at the end. Now, when Babel sees this, it will compile this expression down to something like this. So we'll have a React element with the type div, and inside of that element we'll have two other elements, an H1 and a button. Okay, so delete. Now see what happens when I save the changes. The Prettier extension that I told you to install at the beginning of the course automatically reformatted this expression. Now it's more readable, and it also put parentheses around that. This is essential because of something that we call automatic semicolon insertion. So in JavaScript, if you have a return statement and nothing in front of it, JavaScript will automatically put a semicolon here. So if we add a div on the next line, JavaScript is not going to see that. It thinks you have a return statement with nothing in front of it. To solve this problem, we should put a parenthesis right in front of the return keyword and then close it at the end of our JSX expression. Okay, so delete. Now the good thing is that whenever you're dealing with a long JSX expression, as soon as you save the file, this Prettier extension would automatically put these parentheses for you, so you don't have to do it manually. All right, save the changes. Now back in the browser, here's our button. Let's inspect this. So here we have this div with the ID root. This is coming from our index.html. I showed you this at the beginning of the course. So this is the div or the container for our React application. Inside of this div, we have this other div, which we added a minute ago to wrap our H1 and button elements. Okay. Now, sometimes you don't want an extra div that is not doing anything here. In that case, you can use react.fragment. Let me show you. So back in the code, we imported this React object on the top. This React has a child called fragment. So we can replace these two divs with react.fragment. Now, if you're curious how I edited both these instances at the same time, this is called multi-cursor editing. So we can select a piece of code, press Command and D on Mac or Control D on Windows to find another occurrence of that selection. Now, if you have more occurrences, you keep pressing Command and D or Control D. Now we have multiple cursors. We can change all instances in one go. So react.fragment. Now save the changes back in the browser. This time inside of our root div, we only have the H1 and the button. They are not contained by another div.